Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning 1 p.m. on the Central Time Zone. As I get to ride home with you in the afternoon, it's always so much fun. You can find us syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the Newscasters.com. There you're going to be able to see all kinds of folks and listen to all kinds of folks and their idea on whatever subject. And I think there's a huge variety. The podcast has really, really grown. As a matter of fact, before I get started with Murray, continue sending emails, Donna@DonnasEdge.com, Donna@DonnasEdge.com. You are not bothering me one bit. So you keep sending those, okay? And I always check the spam box because sometimes for some reason it goes there. So if it takes a couple of days before I can get back with you, it's just because we've been crazy busy recording and editing and all those things, planning for shows. There's a lot of work and effort put into editing and just trying to figure out the show you want to come up with. Although that's not really the case between Murray and me. Murray and I just, we don't plan for anything. We just dive in, don't we, Murray? Murray,
you just tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll figure out what it is as we go along.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I'll say what we're going to talk about, and we start, and then we go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's what people actually like. They like for us just to throw our hearts out there and just, what we're thinking and the truth and all that stuff matters. But before we get started, let's talk about the podcasters.
Okay.
The Newscaster studio. I know it's growing like crazy, and man, you guys have added a lot of talk show hosts on.
We've got, I would say, about 80 now.
Wow.
Now, some of them are freelancers. Some of them are writing articles, or if they don't want to do a full-time podcast or a video show, we stream it for them. We have a section called the Newscasters feed, a news feed. And what we do there is we have journalists who send us articles that we'll reprint. And we have folks who occasionally will do a podcast. They're not structured. They'd say, well, I'm going to do one. And I said, well, fine, send me the information, and we put it out on the news feed. So we've got probably 10 or 15 that do that. I've got a handful of people who like to write opinion pieces. So we've got, a blog type situation that we call Newscasters Insights. And they provide opinions or commentary on just about everything. And then we've got our standard group of contributors like you that, are putting a podcast together, once a week. Some do more, some do less. And we schedule them out and we push them out to the general public across all the social media platforms. And we've got people coming on a regular basis. I think we've got our first podcaster coming on from France.
Oh, wow.
So it's sometime in the next couple of weeks. So we are global. I mean, our podcasters are being listened to from all over the globe now. So we've come a long way from the crib style, where you're crawling around in your crib trying to figure out how am I going to get out. We're now in a semi-trot mode, I guess you might want to say, because we have folks from all over the country, and they talk about just about anything, everything from politics to we've got several folks who do a wonderful job with inspiration. We've got Alveda Kings on the platform now. Christine Hutchinson is coming onto the platform. She's a political asset that knows a lot about what's going on in Washington. She's overseas right now, so when she gets back, she'll be starting to put information up. You're on the show, on the platform, and put up a show every couple of weeks or every week or two. It just depends on a person's schedule. So go to the newscasters.com and visit the studios, and you will probably find somebody that talks about whatever you want to talk about. We don't censor anybody. We let them talk what they want to talk about, as long as they don't get carried away. We let them talk about anything that they want to talk about, and we push it out for them and try to give. The ultimate goal of the platform was to try to give people a voice. Let them hear some things that are going on, say in Washington, that they didn't know about, or something going on in California or Texas or whatnot. And it's grown tremendously over the last year or so.
Yeah, I'm proud to be part of it. I'll just
Yes, ma'am. You were part of the beta team. We had a little beta team of about 10 podcasters, and Donna was gracious enough to be part of that beta team, and it's just grown. We couldn't be more excited about the direction that it's going and the type of people that are coming on to the platform.
Absolutely. Well, you know something, we have a different sheriff in town now.
That's a true statement.
Right. And so how do you feel the country is going now? Now that he's been in office for quite a few months. Do you feel better about things? Are you undecided? Or do you think, whoops, let's go back to Biden?
No, I think as a whole, I think I saw a percentage the other day that something like 90% of the people who voted for Trump still supported Trump. We still have that. He's still an outsider. So you still have those, what I lovingly call the deep staters, who are still doing everything that they can to try to stymie. And that's what happened during his first term. You had all these people that were tied to the establishment, and they weren't going to allow him to do anything. Plain and simple. They just weren't going to allow him to do anything. And as much as I hate to see what the country went through during the previous 4 years, he learned from that. I think the American people learned from that. And he's put together a cabinet and a team that I don't think in my lifetime I've ever seen the intensity that I've seen with that group. And they don't like it. Washington does not like it. And they'll continue to try to, shut him down in any way they can. But I think the people are still behind him. The Democratic Party is actually losing voters. They're now shifting over to the Republican side. I think I saw something a couple of days ago that over 2 million voters that classified themselves as Democrats now classify themselves Republicans. So that's got to be, and not that it hurts my feelings in the least little bit, but that's got to be a little bit of dismay from the Democratic side. But
I've not noticed you with tissues crying.
And you
No more for that. But
there is absolutely nothing that from a moderate standpoint, there are a few moderates still out there, but they're just hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Because the Democratic Party, it has truly moved so far to the left that they're socialists now, and some of them are even Marxists. I know people say, "Oh, you're being, you're going off the deep end." No, if you really listen to some of the things that they say and some of the things that they do, where they're trying to call the people on the right conservatives, Nazis and neo-Nazis and fascists and whatnot, they're 10 times worse than anything. And the sad thing, Donna, they don't recognize it. They don't understand it. They just keep on with all the hate and the vitriol, and you sit there and you go, I just can't believe some of the things that they say. I mean, here you got a president who is trying his best to end a war that he didn't start. And they can't stand it. I mean, they've said some things in the media over the last couple of days to where, well, he's still Putin's puppet, that type of stuff, and you go, look, he didn't start this thing. The Biden administration, actually all the way back to the first administration Biden was part of, sort of started the wheels in motion. All he's trying to do is keep people from getting killed. And you sort of want to respect that, but they can't give him any kind of credit. Now, how it's going to go, you and I, it's a flip of a coin. They could get together and shake hands, but as I was telling you earlier, they're trying to do the bilateral. I think they need the trilateral first, because they need somebody with some size, because he is a big guy sitting between the Mr. Putin and Mr. Zelensky, or they may come over across the table and start beating each other upside the head.
Yeah, but you know something, Murray? War is a money maker.
Sure it
I
is.
mean, a lot of people, I'm telling, and a lot of Republicans are in on this too.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am, they are.
I'm
Yes,
not saying
ma'am.
conservatives. I'm saying a lot of idiot Republicans are doing the very same thing. They're making money off of it.
Sure they are.
They
Sure
don't
they
want
are.
war to end.
I don't think you just said it. I don't think they're really deep down they want this thing to end, because when you start talking about throwing $350 billion into what was always classified one of the most corrupt countries and governments in the world, and now they're finding some of his folks were embezzling money and doing this and doing that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have a nice fancy home and a few nice cars now that he didn't have. But it ties back to the military base, I guess you might want to say, because they got to buy stuff. And you got all these politicians on both sides of the aisle who have been pushing, oh, we got to send them money. We got to send them money. And you sit there and go, how much are you getting? I mean, I don't have any proof.
It's like a boomerang.
Yeah, so I don't have any proof, but you can't. I mean, Lindsey Graham's a prime example.
Oh, my goodness. I'm living right here in South Carolina. People detest him here.
How he gets reelected, because he is truly one of what I call the finger in the wind type of politician. You know, he wets his finger, sticks it into the wind, and based on what side of his finger is, gets cool, is how he makes his decision, because he has made comments and a day later and sometimes hours later, he's contradicting the comment that he made, 2 or 3 hours earlier or a couple of days earlier. So I have no use for the man. I really don't.
I don't. And people here in South Carolina don't either, but he still keeps getting it year after year. He's the prime example of why we need term limits.
Yes, ma'am. I agree wholeheartedly.
He's been there way too long.
Well, a lot of them have. I mean, I think the average age, and I could be off on this, average age over on the House side is something like 70. Something like that, 72. I can't remember how many they are, but there's 25 or 30 of them that are on up there. And then you get over on the Senate side, and you got Mitch McConnell, who, bless his heart, he should be gone, should have been gone a long time ago. And they just keep getting reelected after session after session after session. They just keep getting reelected. And why the people of the states, because people say, oh, term limits. Well, we can vote them out. Well, if that's the case, vote them out. If you're not happy with them or her, vote them out. That very seldom does that ever occur. I can't remember. There was a few of them during the last session or during the last election cycle that had been there for a while. They got voted out. But that's a rarity. I mean, they have got such a bank of money just stored away that you just don't have an opportunity to compete against that. It's just unbelievable.
That's true. Like Nancy Pelosi, she is so old, she plays with her false teeth while she's on the air. I mean, this woman, how old is she? She's way past her prime.
She's 80. I think she's older than Biden. I think she's like 82 or 83, something like that. Now, I could be wrong, but I think she's in her 80s.
I'm okay. I have an aunt who's 100. She'll be 104 next month. Okay, this woman has more facilities than Nancy Pelosi does, and this aunt lives by herself. She will not let her kids live with her. I mean, she does everything herself, but she's self-sufficient, and that's the whole thing. And she's no Nancy Pelosi. Oh, loves Trump. Trump sends her. Okay, when she turned 100, Trump himself sends her a card and a picture and something else. I forgot what they sent her a package full of stuff. She loves Trump. I mean, she's a little bit of a flirt. But anyway, my aunt who's something years old, that's probably why she's the age she is. But anyway, this woman is amazing. And so I asked her one day, she was on the show a couple of times, and I said, most young people can't remember what they ate for breakfast. And I said, what is it? I mean, how do you do this? And she said, well, no, I don't remember like I used to.
Yeah.
She said, but I like to read.
Mm.
She thinks we started losing a civilization when people quit reading and started looking at their cell phones and watching.
I don't doubt that. My mother, bless her heart, she lived to be 89, and she was sharp as a tack. Physically, she had some trouble getting around, but mentally, she was sharp as a tack. And that's exactly what she did, Donna. She read all day long. And, I've never seen a house that had so many books in it. When, we started going through everything, which is a hard thing to do. But I mean, books everywhere, bookcases full of books, good books, bad books. She didn't care. She just read. And that's probably part of the situation. You got to keep your brain functioning. And we don't do it anymore like we used to. Yeah. I mean, I've got bookcases full of books, but I don't read them as much as I probably should. And the newer generation, you just nailed it. The new generation doesn't know how to read, I don't think. And it's just a sad state of affairs.
There was a book we had to read. It was required reading. And I forgot which book it was, several books. But anyway, there was a movie made out of it as well. So the teacher said, now, I've read the book and I've watched the movie. I'm going to know who really read their book. Well, I love to read, so I read the book. But a number of people put answers, and that let her know they didn't read the book. They watched the movie. 2 total ball games right there. So yeah, I mean, and then this generation we've got right now is like, and it's the faults of the parents, because I always made my son read. Now he loves to read now.
Yeah. Well, I did a show earlier today with a professor that teaches reading, writing, photojournalism, journalism, that type of stuff. And we did the show talking about artificial intelligence. And I said, how are you going to keep track of these young men and women coming out of high school, their creativity and whatnot, when nowadays all you've got to do is go on ChatGPT or Grok or one of these other ones and say, write me an article. And it writes an article. Now it's structured, but they could take that article and play around with it a little bit and make it look like it was written by a human being. Mm-hmm. And so he goes, it's getting to be a bigger challenge as every day goes by. And my biggest concern, and I told it to him, was journalism, because I don't use Google or anymore to search for stuff. I do use a artificial intelligence tool. If I want to find out something, I just say, give me the details of or information on, mm-hmm. and in a matter of a couple of seconds, boom, there it is. And it tells you it's 23 sources and all this kind of stuff. Well, you can go through it and look at it and say, okay, well, that makes sense. Then if you've got some ethics about you, you turn around and you take the content that you've got and you write the article in your own vocabulary or your own terms or whatnot. My biggest fear is a lot of journalists aren't going to do that. And they're going to use AI to write articles. And there was just this week, there was an article printed in a smaller newspaper in this area, and it had the name of the journalist, but beside the name of the journalist, it said AI used to write.
So they're even saying it? I mean,
he's got AI assisted in writing this. I can't remember the exact term, but he had his name and he had AI, assisted or wrote, help write that thing.
It used to be called
disturbing.
Cheating. Huh? Used to be called cheating. You were cheating if you did something like that in school. It was called, copying someone else's paper when you had a report to do.
Absolutely.
And you could get expelled. I mean,
well, his comment was it's getting harder every day because AI is getting more sophisticated as every day goes by. And as young men and women learn to use it, then he said there's no check in the college ranks right now, said there's no check on anything written by AI. Now we can run if somebody has used somebody else's information, plagiarism. Mm-hmm. There are scanners and whatnot that they can take that document and scan it, and it will come back and make a comparison and say, well, Murray wrote this. Well, so did Donna. But Murray changed the words around a little bit from what Donna wrote. So
you mean what Joe Biden did?
Quite a few times.
Yeah.
Quite a few times. But he said there's nothing at this moment that validates that if you or I to write an article or story using artificial intelligence, he said there's nothing that they can scan it with that can make that comparison. All you have to do is try to figure out what the creativity is of that particular student to see whether you feel like he or she actually wrote the article or the thesis or whatnot. So I said, you're going to have a hard time in another year or two. And he said, hey, I'm planning on retiring in a couple of years, so I won't have to worry about it.
Well, that's it. You can check the mannerism of the person and how they normally talk. If they normally talk in a slang, well, then you're going to pretty much well figure they didn't write that article. But let's get real about this, okay, Murray? I don't think journalists have been writing their own stuff anyway for the past few days. Because it's almost like the same memo that comes through to every television station, to every radio station.
I agree with you. The surrogates and the minions, or whatever you want to call them, whatever used to, I don't think they're doing it quite as much now, but there is a group within a particular party that is feeding the words of the day or the phrase of the day. And not only are they giving it to journalists, they're also giving it to what they call their so-called influencers on social media, because they're saying the same thing. And you sit there and go, it's hard to fathom that, because a lot of people use AP as a source. So you'll sometimes see the same identical article.
Yes, you do.
That it came from AP, and it's on other news networks or news platforms or publications. So they're really not doing much. They're just saying, grab that, and they take credit for it.
Well, Murray, this is why the Newscasters is beginning to be so popular, because when you turn on the Newscasters, it's not like every talk show host is saying the exact same thing.
Oh, that's a true statement.
We're kind of using our heads, and we're doing research. We're not just throwing stuff out there. But I'm just saying that it's in someone else. You can tell they've done their own research.
Yeah, they may be talking about the same topic. This is talking about what's going on in D.C. right now, or what's going on in California, or what's going on of gerrymandering, that type of stuff. But they put their own spin on it. They get their own feel to it. And, Joe's not going to sound like Jim, and Jim's not going to sound like Donna, and Donna's not going to sound like Murray. They're going to put all their own little spins on it, because that's the only way you learn, to get other people's opinions and thought processes as they talk about a particular subject, because that's the name of the game.
Well, I'm going to say that every talk show host you have on the Newscasters gets more views than The View does. I don't know why The View is still on air. I just don't. I'm just saying this. If I were with a network and I were getting the amount of viewers they were getting, I think they'd probably axe me. I think they would probably say, you're gone, out of here.
You take into consideration the kind of money some of these people are making. When you see a national broadcast and they can have access to millions and millions of viewers, and they only get 150,000, 200,000 on a national basis. That's not good. That's not good. And I often wondered who are listening and reading stuff that's coming out of CNN, coming out of MS Now, as they're going to call themselves. Some of these other newspapers like the New York Times or the Washington Post or whatnot, and Trafalgar, our polling group, is probably the only one that I trust, because they nailed every poll that they do. They nail it. And they did a poll on who's watching CNN, who's watching these platforms. And he found out that it was not the young people, but they found out it was people 65 and older. Because they had grown up through the years watching, because not all of them been around. Fox hadn't been around that long. News Nation hadn't been around that long. Newsmax hadn't been around that long. So they grew up watching NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, whatever they're going to call themselves now. And they believe that what they write is truthful. That sort of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, it did. But I'm seeing a resurgence with young people. I think they've seen their parents make stupid mistakes because they've seen their parents being led around by the nose, and their parents have been told what to do and when to do it. And I think these young people, a lot of them, I've been impressed. The church we go to here in Abbeville, South Carolina, of course, they have a Christian school, but I'm just noticing the difference between the kids who go to that church and a lot of other churches. Their manners are totally different. They're yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. They're like that, but they're bright kids. I mean, they don't have to sit and think. You don't have to say what color is the sky, and they don't sit there and look at you like you just shot them. I mean, they'll just say, I'm just noticing a difference in a lot of the kids.
From that new group, for majority, from about 18 to 25, 26, what used to be occurring with that particular age group, it's changed dramatically. Really has. I've got two granddaughters. One of them's 19, one of them about to turn 21. And I'm just amazed at, some of the conversations they want to have about stuff. And it's far and away from what you would hear. And you sit there and go, well, somebody's done something right, from that standpoint. So I hope
something stupid and they're tired of it. So some of their parents had to live in the basement of their parents. Yeah. And some of them were little tots, and they remember that. Yep. And they remember their grandparents talk about getting married and moving out on their own. Oh, yeah. And they're coming back. Yeah. And I think it's sunk in with some of these kids. They're like, I don't want to be like them. I want to be more like my grandparents.
Yep. I agree.
I mean, it's kind of refreshing, to tell you the truth. I love it. And I'll tell you something, at all the Trump events, people say, oh, it's just the old people who are going to Trump events, or just people who live out in the country. No, it wasn't. I saw so many young people at these events.
It was amazing. And and it's funny, a couple of groups have had rallies, anti-Trump rallies across the state here. This group called No Kings. There's a group called Indivisible. There's a group called 5051. And they've been having rallies in various and sundry places across the state of Alabama. And what they're trying to do is naturally they're trying to find some Democratic people. And it was funny, the one they had at the state capitol a couple of months ago had about 200 people at it. And Montgomery, if folks may not know Montgomery that well, but Montgomery is the minority factor is about 65% of the city of Montgomery. Mm-hmm. And they kept saying, we're local, we're here for the community, you got to listen to us, and all that kind of stuff. There was only 6 minorities at a meeting that had about 200 people in it. And of that 200 people, I would dare say 80% were over 65.
Well, I'm also going to say they probably came in buses. They probably were nowhere.
Oh, they denied that. They denied that.
Oh, come on. They were nowhere near being from Montgomery. Those were not local people.
No, when I went down to cover it. And the funny thing is I got into a couple of caravans of cars, and they had some very unique decals on their windows. Mm-hmm. And they were from out of state, Georgia and Florida. When I get down to the state capitol, first thing I did was walk around just for curiosity's sakes. And lo and behold, there were a handful of those cars with those very unique decals on them that were not from Alabama. In fact, the gentleman who pulled up beside me and parked he was trying to put money into the meter. And I said, you don't have to put money in the meter on the weekends, not in Montgomery, downtown Montgomery. Oh, okay. I'm going, so you must not be from around here, because if you're from down there, you would know it. And he said, no, I'm not. And I said, well, where are you from? He wouldn't answer me. Mm-hmm. He just goes to the back of his car, gets a couple of signs out of the trunk, and I just walked to the back of his car, and he had a Florida tag. You know, and I'm going, well, okay. You know, so they're bringing people there in. I mean, there was a group just last week that basically admitted that they get paid to get people to come to protest. And in the Washington, D.C. area alone, it's up over 400% of people that they're getting rallies for. You just can't, all of a sudden, somebody say something at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by noon, you have 50 or 60 people standing around in front of the building yelling and screaming. You just,
there's no way, because you have to plan for it. You have to plan travel. You have to plan staying at a hotel. You have to do all those things. It doesn't just like that.
It just doesn't happen.
It's not going to happen. There was one in Fort Payne. You know how small Fort Payne is. Mm-hmm. And it was supposed to be this big thing, you know, as you know, no kings or whatever it is they say. And so there was just a handful of people there. And so one lady, they were showing, had been there, and she was showing the different pictures of the different people who were there. And there was one lady holding up a sign, and I'm just going to tell you, she looked pretty haggled. Now, she was probably not near as old as she looked. Probably not. She just lived a rough life. And she had this thing, my body, my decision, my whatever it is they say.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody on the Facebook page said, don't worry, lady, judging your looks, you're not going to have that issue. So anyway, that's just the way it is. We've got to go into a commercial break. Can you believe 30 minutes is just like by? We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. We are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. You can find us on Abundance Television Syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the Newscasters.com. Real proud to be part of that team. You can also find us on all the social media sites. We're everywhere. And that's me, we, the conservative ones, and then YouTube. And I haven't been kicked off of YouTube and Facebook for a long time.
Wow.
I must something wrong, Murray.
Sheesh. Wow.
It's been a lot. Well, since Trump came in, I've not been kicked off.
Yeah, so, I think all these media outlets now are like YouTube and Rumble and some of these other ones out there. Now, I'm not using, MeWe very often. But I don't think they're kicking people off as much as they used to, because I don't think they want to hear the wrath of what's going to come out of the FCC with Mr. Trump. I just don't think they want to do it. Now, yeah, they'll cut some people off. It depends on how radical you are, from that perspective. I always try to tell folks when they're putting the show together, be careful of the content, be careful of the title of the show, and be very careful of some of the words that you're trying to use from a metadata standpoint and an SEO standpoint, because that's what they track. They don't go look at your show. They go take a look at some of the hashtags. They take a look at some of the other stuff. And if you got some vibrant hashtags, in the content of your show or whatnot, the analog devices or whatnot, they'll pick it up and they'll shut you down in a heartbeat, or they'll slow you down. Instead of you being available, you may be, well, we'll put it out there, but we're not going to really let you promote it very much, from that.
Right.
So that doesn't seem to be happening quite as much as it used to.
No, not near as bad. So I wanted to ask you about, and I want to get into local Alabama politics, but before we do that, I wanted to ask you, out of Trump, the folks who are with Trump right now, who's been your surprise? Who has been the person that you thought, wow, I didn't know they had that in them?
Probably the Secretary of Finance, Bassett. I guess that's how you pronounce his name. And Miss Tulsi.
Oh, that's my favorite right there.
Miss Tulsi has opened up a can of worms that I don't think anybody was expecting. Patel's done real well. And they just added another assistant FBI director, and I cannot think of his. I know he was the AG out of Missouri. He's coming on board to help. But I've read some of the stuff that she's uncovered. There's some folks in Washington that really need to be very, very concerned.
They really should, because she was on the Democrat side. Now, from
Yes,
apparently an old Democrat side, not from the craziness that they have going on right now. But I was impressed with her when she was actually running for president. Of course, she's the only one on the Democrat side that made any kind of sense whatsoever. You remember the panel up there, and I was like, man, if they go behind her, we're going to have a hard time on the Republican side, because I liked her. But
she could have won. She could
there.
Do what now?
The only thing I could think of is, why is she a Democrat? Because she seemed to me to be a Republican back then.
Well, she was, you go back to the old Blue Dog, Dixiecrats and whatnot. They were more like her. They were Democrats and they stood against certain things. But this wing now, what's happened to the Democratic Party, they've just lost it. I don't agree with Miss Pelosi on anything, but I'll give Miss Pelosi credit. While she was Speaker of the House, she did keep the Democrats in check. This Hakeem Jeffries, he hasn't a clue as to what he's doing. And the squad and some of these other folks that are, running the show right now, it's the Democratic Party is just, for the most part, is gone. And whatever happens in New York City, that's the test point.
Yeah, but you look at it another way, though. You can look at it another way. Aren't they being a little too quiet? You know how it is with unruly kids? Okay, my son was all boy, okay? If he ever got quiet, I would go hunt him down to see what he was up to. He was So, I'm looking at it that way. I'm like, they've got something up their sleeve.
I don't think they do, Donna. I think they're so broken right now that they really don't have a clue. This David, he was the vice chair of the DNC. They kicked him out because what he wanted to do was take on some of the establishment Democrats that have been around for a while. I mean, he had $20 million that he was going to use to try to primary some of these folks. That side of their party now is pretty much taken over. You've got Schumer at 19% approval rating, and I think whatever happens in New York, Minnesota's got a socialist running, Seattle's got a socialist mayor running. You got 2 or 3 of the largest cities in the country that if they win, you're going to see where they are holding off endorsing the candidate, the Democrat, socialist, communist, Marxist candidate, whatever you want to call him, from his stance. They're going to have to switch because none of them have, at the hierarchy, none of them have endorsed him. But Bernie has, Pocahontas has, but both of them have been borderline socialist all there. Of course, Bernie is a socialist. And AOC has, and all these other young sprouts that are coming up through the Democratic Party, they've all endorsed this guy. And as we all know, you don't get things for free. Somebody pays for it. And what's going to happen to New York, if New York votes for it and puts him in place, they get what they deserve as far as I look at it. Yeah, all the business is going to leave. And it's not going to be a pretty sight for one of the largest cities in the country.
Well, a lot of folks have already left.
Sure.
They're coming into the Carolinas. They're coming into what we're getting. A real good friend of mine, Don Brown, is running for U.S. Senate in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I know Don he's a good. His core values are just on top. He's ex-Navy, ex-military. Guy's an author and a speaker. I mean, he's got it. I mean, he really does. And right now, he's way ahead of everybody else in the polls.
Good.
So I asked him about I said, well, what about your opponent on the Democrat side like that? And he said, they're just wacky.
Sure they are.
People are just tired of that. And now he believes in running the old-fashioned way. He goes out and meets the people. Mm-hmm. He's not just send Facebook text out. I mean, he's really out there with the people. And the people are just fed up. And he's seeing a lot of Democrats, former Democrats, that are coming to the Republican meetings to see him as well. And I mean, they want a fighter. They want a fighter for the state of North Carolina and for the United States. And we're just all tired of this Nancy Pantsy stuff. I mean, just silly stuff. Be strong. You don't have to be brutal, but you can be strong in your beliefs.
Sure, you can.
Run the country the way it needs to be.
I mean, you don't have to get into a crowd and start, playing a guitar and clapping and beating on pots and pans, or sitting down in front of the state, a Capitol building and clapping hands and singing songs. That's about all they got now. I mean, Boston is protesting against the Attorney General coming in to do what they do in D.C. to try to arrest all these folks who are here illegal. Well, the deadline was today for, I think, about 30 cities across the country to say you're either going to do away with your sanctuary status, or we're coming after you. Well, the mayor gets up and she starts talking, but before she starts talking, a Mexican, whatever kind of band they called, they were sitting there singing songs and strumming the guitar and all this kind of stuff. I don't know what that does. I mean, anybody who wants to listen to a mariachi band sing a song compared to listening to whoever's supposed to be the mayor talk about what she's supposed to be talking about. I cannot remember. You refresh my mind now. During the 4 years that Biden was president, I can't remember too many Republican crowds get together and clap hands and yell and scream and doing TikTok videos and YouTube videos. I can't think of any. And that's what they're doing now. I mean, some of these Stallwell out of California, all these guys now, they're just walking around with the cameras in their face and they're doing TikTok videos. Like, what's that supposed to accomplish? They think that that's getting to the younger people. Well, the younger people they're getting to, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, so I guess we'll just have to see.
But most of them don't like all of that music. I mean, most of them are not gonna, like, you've got a friend. Okay, singing that to Joe Biden. Poor Joe Biden didn't even know he was on planet Earth when he was singing it to him. I mean, it was just like, I don't know. Let's just. Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, I still want to talk Alabama politics, but okay, as far as the Democrat side, who's going to run for president? Who do you think it's going to be? Who's going to be their person?
It's. I think in the last 2 weeks, Newsom is prompting himself up. Pritzker out of Indiana. Oh, excuse me, out of Illinois. He's going to run. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to run. And I guess there's a possibility, and I can't think of his name right now, but the mayor of Philadelphia, the gentleman that Kamala didn't pick because he was Jewish, and she went with Mr. Waltz.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a possibility of the governor from Michigan. I don't know where she would have, the wherewithal to do it, but I think Pritzker. There's no doubt in my mind Pritzker's going to run. There's just no doubt.
I think Tampon Tim is going to run.
Huh?
You think Tampon Tim is going to run?
No.
Oh, he's so.
In my honest opinion, anybody tied to Kamala Harris during that campaign.
That's not going to stop them.
I think what's going to stop them is the money. I think the donors are going to sit there. They gave her $1.5 billion that she blew through in 107 days, which is the name of her book. And she still owed $20 million. The DNC is still paying off her debts from her campaign. So, honestly, I don't think Kamala's got a chance with Snowball. And Waltz, I think he realizes that the bottom has fallen out on him and he's not going to go. But all of this gerrymandering nonsense that the blue states are doing, compared to what Texas is doing, that's giving Newsom just all kinds of talking points. And I think he's trying to build something because he's so friggin' wishy-washy. You don't ever know. One day he's for this, one day he's for that. One day he's going to be a moderate. Next thing he's back here as far left.
He's going to start this moderate act. Of course, we all knew it was an act. He's not really moderate about anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk Alabama. We've only got about 8 minutes left in this segment.
All right.
Okay, I don't really know what to talk to you about Alabama. I think it's pretty much well done with Alabama. I think Tuberville's going to be the governor.
No doubt.
Unless he gets up on the Empire State Building and guns down a bunch of people, and then he's still probably got it.
No. Tommy's going to be the governor. There's no doubt about it. Lieutenant governor is going to come down between Popular West Allen and Rick Pate. Both of them are well known. I know both of them quite well. There's another gentleman by the name of Dean Odle who is running. He ran last time for governor, but he's running for lieutenant governor this time. He may be able to put a hiccup in there, but it's going to be between Rick Pate and West Allen. The auditor, Andrew Sorrell, all of a sudden he thought he was going to run through things just hunky-dory. Wasn't going to have anybody run against him. Well, Caroline Dobson announced about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and she was well liked when she ran for District 1. District 2. When they after they did the redistricting, she's going to give him a run for his money. The Attorney General, I don't have a good feel who's going to win the Attorney General. And now you've got 5 people now running for what was going to be Tommy Tuberville's Senate seat. You've got A.G. Marshall who's running. Barry Moore just announced the other day. And you've got handful of other folks who have just announced. So there's going to be probably 5 folks running for the Senate for that Senate seat. And I would dare say right now it's probably going to come down between Steve Marshall and Barry Moore. And so we'll just have to see. Jerry Carl down in Mobile has announced he's running for District 1. And I don't know that anybody has announced against him. Now, there were rumors that Heather Moore was going to run for District 1 while Barry ran for Senate. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether that's going to come to pass or not. But there were some rumors out there floating around from that standpoint. So, and of course, when the election cycle starts up, we've got all the senators, all the House representatives will have to run for re-election, in 2026. So a couple of empty seats are out there right now that are, trying to be filled. There's a couple of special elections. One just finished up So we'll just have to see. It's musical chairs at the executive level, because who was, the AG is now running for this, who can't run for that, because all of them, with the exception of the Secretary of State and the state auditor, were all termed out. But Wes Allen, who was the Secretary of State, said he wanted to run for lieutenant governor, so he is. Andrew Farrell, who was the auditor, is now running for Secretary of State. Of course, Andrew is just trying to work his way up. He's going to run for governor. We just don't know when. But it's going to be somewhat interesting, because there may be a surprise or two out there. But for the most part, there's some pretty good people running for some of these executive level offices. I just get tickled, because I call it musical chairs, because, I can't be commissioner of agriculture anymore because I'm termed out, so I'm going to run for lieutenant governor.
Well, what happened? What's Will Ainsworth going to do? I know he's disappointed. He wanted to be the next governor.
Oh, he wanted to be the next governor. No two ifs and buts about it. I don't know what he's going to be doing. Personally, I hope he runs for the head of the Alabama GOP, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm not real thrilled with the gentleman who is the chair of the Alabama GOP, because he wanted to run for lieutenant governor. And he went to the committee, the Alabama GOP committee, because he wanted to run, but he also wanted to be in a position that if he lost, he could come back and be the chair. So he had to get to committee to try to vote for it. And the committee basically shut him down. They said, no, you're going to run and you're going to lose. So what? You got to go find yourself another job, and there are rumblings, and I don't know that he'll do it, but Mo Brooks, his name has come up in the last 2 or 3 days to run for Senate. He said, I don't know why I shouldn't, but I don't know why I should. One of those type of flippity-flop type comments.
Yeah, so that drives me nuts.
And so everybody's now sort of speculating that, well, maybe I'm going to throw my name back in the hat for the Senate again. But I think the two strongest at this particular point in time, probably Steve Marshall, because Trump had offered Steve Marshall a job up in D.C. in his staff. And Steve turned it down to stay in Alabama. And of course, immediately what happens is when, Tuberville decides he's not going to run for Senate again, he's going to run for governor. Within a week, all of a sudden, Steve has thrown his name into the hat for Senate. So you sit there and go, did he really want to stay in Alabama? Because, now he's going to be a senator. So you're going to have to move his whole family up to Washington, D.C. So I think one of the biggest names that everybody keeps scratching their head about is, him and I know him. What's Mr. Merrill going to do? Is he decided I'm done? Because you see him everywhere. And I see him every time I go to a meeting someplace. He's almost always there with his smiling face and his suit on and shaking hands. And I know he was on your show just a couple of days ago. So I'm curious as to, I've been told he has said he's going to sit this one out. So I guess we'll just have to see. I don't know.
Just got to wait and see.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So that's pretty much.
Let's talk a little bit on the mayor side. I'm talking mayors, and because I'm going to tell you some towns that are up in an uproar right now, okay, because of the illegals coming in. Yep. I'm going to mention Albertville, Alabama is one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Albertville, Alabama has a very high crime rate.
Yes, it does.
It is nowhere near what it was when I was a kid growing up. I mean, this is not the same town. Now, it looks good. I mean, you got all this new industry and stuff coming in, but I'm just telling you, the illegals have taken over.
Well, they had a situation during Biden's term, the CBP-1 app and what is called the CHNV app or program. And what they did, they brought in 72,000 Venezuelans, Colombians, Venezuelans, and Haiti into the state of Alabama. And they were all over the place. I mean, buses were pulling up and people were getting out and, trying to find, and then they would scatter them across all the NGOs, and the NGOs would try to find them homes. Sylacauga had a huge problem there for a while. but they have started to thin out in some areas of the state. And they have also done ICE, the DEA, ATF, immigration has really started to do some raids here across the state of Alabama. Down in South Alabama, in 2 raids, they found 50, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 50 unregistered illegal aliens working on construction sites for 2 schools.
They found one in a restaurant in Albertville, and several of them were convicted felons.
Well, we had that situation here in Central Alabama about a month and a half ago. There was a gentleman who had opened up what is called El Patron, Mexican restaurants across Montgomery, Montgomery, Prattville, a couple of other places, and they raided the hotels. They raided the restaurants. And what they found was $100,000 in cash. They found he had cheated the government out of an untold amount of money in the PPP loans. He had done that illegally. But they also arrested him for human smuggling. He was bringing people in, and then they were charged him with human trafficking, because once they got there, he was floating them around his different restaurants that he had across Central Alabama. And they found cocaine, they found meth, and they found 5 or 6 weapons when they did the raid. So they are starting to seem like they are starting to crack down on it.
One more question. We're going to have to go.
Yes, ma'am.
If you and I cheated the government out of 50 cents, all over us when it's slapping all kinds of penalties and whatever on us, why does it seem to take so long to find these people who actually scam the United States government out of millions of dollars? Why does it take so long?
Well, you had one party or you had one administration who just didn't care. You really didn't. We had 4 years of you could get away with anything if you wanted to. And they found maybe 1 or 2 folks. When you got athletes who are getting $1 million in PPP, or government groups getting money, or government NGOs that are supposed to be government related, but when USAID is feeding millions and billions of dollars to these NGOs, and then finding that some politicians are tied to these NGOs or to USAID, I'll give kudos to, right now the Trump administration. People are frustrated, in some instances, but what they've done in their first 6 months is just unheard of.
It's been incredible.
It really has.
Awesome.
We would love to see some of these politicians get arrested for some of the things they do, but that's going to take time to build a case. Once the case gets built, everybody's irritated about this Epstein stuff. I don't know what's, all I can tell you, if he was actually in the Epstein file, if you wouldn't think that Joe Biden and his staff would not have brought it public,
okay,
then I don't know what you're drinking.
You have common sense. That's what you and I think. But you got to think about people who are fed information into their head.
Sure.
And they're being led like sheep to the slaughter. We're going to have to call it a day, Murray.
All right.
Every time it's like the fastest. We're going to have 2 hours, Murray.
We would drive people crazy if they saw us for 2 hours.
I don't think so. I think they've been missing us. I really do. I do. You're going to have to call it a day. Murray, hang around so we can get you set up for next month. And
yes,
thank you guys so much for watching. It's an honor. When you send emails, you're not wasting my time. Some of you have said that. Donna, I'm afraid I mentioned you're not wasting my time. I love hearing from you. Donna at donnasedge.com. See you next time. Bye-bye.